Good afternoon, mamas. This is Devin with Homeschool House Calls in Professional Home Educator, and we are with Susan of Homeschooling Super Moms.
Hi, everybody.
Did y'all miss us last week? Did anybody miss us last week? We missed them.
I know we missed them.
I know.
We had a crazy busy week. Both of us did. And you miss connecting with your groups.
I know. I missed everybody. You were at an HR conference, weren't you?
I was. Just for those of you who may not know me well, I also have, in addition to homeschooling, I do a business, and I've been in human resources for a long time. And I went to an HR conference the first half of the week, and then you and I met up.
Yeah, met up at a homeschool conference.
Yes. So it was a busy week for both of us. And
lots of information.
Lots of information for both of us, and on a lot of different spectrums. And so that's what we wanted to pull in today and share what happened last week to what our topic is this afternoon.
It's amazing. We were talking before we came on that we both had self-care workshops on two different sides. And it's so fun because they were very similar. So self-care is not too different than everything else. So if you missed it, I did a poll yesterday. I said that y'all could vote on what workshop you wanted today. And the Homeschooling Mom Self-Care Plan won. So that's how we're here. We're going to talk about self-care today. So let me go back in my mind. Take me a minute.
While you pull up your slides. So if you guys, as we're going through this afternoon's workshop, by all means, feel free to drop us a note in the comments area, ask questions, leave us a note. Also,
join the conversation.
Yeah, join the conversation. Let us know how you like the workshops. If you like receiving the workshops, give us a like, give us a comment. Because that inspires us. That's part of our self-care, is that you can help us out with our self-care by, letting us know about the workshops and how they're working for you.
Yeah, we want to know that we're doing something that is valuable for y'all, or we're spending a lot of time working and it's not helpful. So we want it to be helpful. That's my joy. I like mamas feeling like they're empowered and they're happy, successful. That's what we want. But anyway, here are my workshops. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. Okay. So anyway, Homeschool Mom Self-Care Plan. This is one that I did last year, and I actually told Susan I forgot I had it.
And we're glad you shook the dust off and you're going to share it with us.
No. So I always like to say in the beginning, when we're talking about self-care, we are not talking about me time. I don't want you to confuse those. Both can contain some of the same actions. Both have some place in our life. I'm not saying me time is a negative thing, but self-care is a necessary action of taking care of yourself. It's not something that's a quick fix that you run out and do on a Saturday night, meeting the girls. I mean, it can involve that, but this is usually where self-care is taking care of yourself. It's kind of like being a stewardess on a plane. You know how they'll tell you, they'll say, okay, we have a drop in pressure. You're going to help the person next to you put your face mask, wait, I got confused. You're going to put your face mask on first, then you help the person next door. And it's the same thing as a mom. If you are not taking care of your body and taking care of yourself and your whole self, you can't take care of those people you're responsible for in your house. And that's the basic line. Self-care is not something to be guilty over. It's not something to be ashamed that you need it. So that's my thing. I always want to go back there because I don't want you to feel guilty or to think that I'm saying for you to neglect your house. That's not what we're talking about here. So anyway, so I'm going to move these forward. Okay, so there are eight facets, that's a good way to call it, of self-care. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to slow down. We can talk about each one of them, come up with some ideas and all that. So The first one's physical self-care. Okay, so here's Candace has a good. She doesn't mind if I show here. It's to me, self-care is not bubble baths and mani-pedi. It's small things to keep my mental health in balance. Sometimes self-care is to do the dang dishes for mental clarity and a clean space. And yes, that's one of the aspects we're going to talk about. Is your environment is part of that. So that's yeah. So yeah, if you're here and you're watching, post what you think self-care is to you. That's a good way to do it, because sometimes what you define it, somebody else might need help defining theirs. They might say, "Oh, that's me." So we start with physical. This is the movement of your body, your nutrition, your sleep, your resting. And some examples are like going for a walk, taking a bath. You know what? When I had small children, taking a shower was like almost a luxury. Do you remember that?
Yes, and having time in the bathroom alone was always a
my
miracle.
God. And remember when those little fingers under the door. And even when we had a cat, the cat's paw would come under the door. I'm like, okay, y'all give me a break here. But yeah, I left the door locked until my at the time she was my youngest. She learned how to pick the lock, and then I just stopped. Then there was never a long time in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So those are so that let me okay. I had this is tricky for me, Sharon. Always okay. Psychological self-care. There's learning new things, practicing mindfulness, creativity. It could be reading a book, learning a new skill, doing a digital detox, which is something I consider every once in a while, but then I don't know if I could handle it.
Yeah, and I think Candace brings up a great point. This is kind of where she's pulling in the mental health, the good balance to have good mental health, because we all know we all get stressed out. If you are homeschooling and have a job, we all get burnout. We all need support. We all need help, and keeping our mental health in check is really important. And, you know, there's so many different ways that you can help keep your mental health in check. And Devin, you tell me if this is probably not the time for it, but like we talked about being at conferences last week, connecting with other moms.
Other people, and that can be. I think what it is, I mean, we have these 8 layers, but the thing is they overlap each other. I mean, yeah, it's nice to pull them apart and look at them, but in reality, we're talking about a whole body. They overlap. I mean, your physical body can affect your mental health, and if you're out of line spiritually, it can affect your health. I mean, all of these things, we're one person. So even though we pull them apart and look at them and we name them, they're not really different parts.
Right. Right. And sometimes your psychological care is just finding some peace. Peace in your life, and how you find that peace comes in many different forms. It's different for everyone. And so I do like this practicing mindfulness of relaxing and pulling yourself together in peace. And
sometimes quieting your mind will help you figure out what's not working.
Exactly. And challenging yourself to a new skill, doing a craft, doing that mental escape.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Emotional self-care. You can, let's see. Enhancing emotional literacy, navigating emotions, increasing empathy, managing stress effectively. Those are some examples. Or saying no, which is something I've had to learn in the last 2 years, is say that it's okay to say no. Making time for reflecting on feelings, practicing self-compassion, being aware of your boundaries. We actually have a workshop in the group by Christy Lanford that is on boundaries. That if anybody wants to see it or know it, we can always tag y'all in that. But she talks about boundaries, and saying no is a boundary.
It is. And saying no doesn't have to be this abrupt, mean thing. Saying no can be I would love to help you out. I just have a lot on my plate right now. And so maybe check with me, down the road. I mean, that can
Yeah.
be saying no. It doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't have to be abrupt. But we do, as moms, typically as moms, we oftentimes don't say no. We keep saying
Mhm.
yes and yes and yes, and we overload, and we've got to have some balance in there.
Yeah, and I found I was saying no to my kids, but not saying no to people outside the home. And how much fair is that? So I had to
Exactly.
think that it's okay to say no to people outside the house. It's okay to say yes to the people inside your house. Sometimes
Exactly.
we have a
Who
yes
who
no.
our first priority is our families, our spouses, our
Mhm.
children, and so those are the people we should be giving our time and our attention to. And so we do have to evaluate and assess and decide which things do we need to say no to. Another task we don't need to load onto our plate.
Let's see. So social self-care, and this is one that I had not realized that was in there. It is having a supportive group, a network of relationships around you that you can trust and turn to, honoring your commitments to other people, asking for help when you need it, meeting new people, and spending time with family and friends. This is one thing we tell, mamas about building your tribe.
Exactly. They can be right here inside of the Facebook groups. The finding your tribe is connecting with other people. And,
Yeah,
Devin and I, this is how Devin and
since
I
we
met
met.
and became very good friends. So if you question whether you can do that, you can. So you guys are in these wonderful Facebook groups that have a lot of wonderful people in them that are just like you that would love to connect with someone else. So find those opportunities and connect with them. And you can meet online just like Devin and I did.
I
And
know that it's just hysterical.
yeah, so, don't rule that out.
No.
Your tribe is there. Your tribe is in your Facebook groups. If you need support,
Yeah.
send out a signal, put a post in, and we will all come and help you
Yes.
with your self-care. We will help lift you up.
Yeah, let's see. So we've got professional self care. And this one is amazing to me because it was a new one. It's sharing your strengths and gifts, having clear professional boundaries, and living your purpose. Let's see, eating a nourishing lunch every day at work if you work. Considering that we are professional home educators here, that means your work is at home and you need to have a nice, attractive, nourishing lunch, and it should not be eating off your children's plate. Negotiating for your needs, having clear professional boundaries, attending professional development opportunities. I think that was a fabulous one. That's how I considered the homeschool conference last year, that I am attending a professional development conference.
Right. So we did one, both Devin and I met up at the end of last week together at a professional development opportunity. Homeschooling, like Devin said, is an opportunity for us to do professional development. They have all kinds of workshops you can
Yeah.
go to, networking opportunities, your opportunity to visit different curriculum booths and things like that. But it is an absolutely wonderful way to do this, to connect with other parents in the homeschooling arena. Earlier in the week, I did a similar business interests that I have with other people, and I connected with other people with the same interests. This is a great way for you to develop yourselves professionally, and professionally can be homeschooling because we are professional educators, and it can also incorporate in business as well, whether you are a mompreneur or you work outside the home for an employer. There are different ways that you can do professional development.
Let's see. Environmental self care. This is like cleaning the dishes, decluttering your house, having an organized, well maintained, clutter free work, business, home environment, having clean clothes, and a clean, well maintained mode of transportation. I'm going to go, I think it's the next one too. No, it wasn't. Okay, we'll come back to that one. But anyway, um, I think environmental is very important. I was thinking the financial one was next, and I thought they went well together. I'll have to rearrange them one day. But but I think it's very important to have your environment clean because, like Candace was saying, having her dishes done. Yes, if your house gets too messy, you may not be able to function. I know I can't. Sometimes you can get to that level of dirty that it's almost like you don't know how to clean it.
Exactly. Like, so my desk, my house office area that I'm currently in, I have certain rules for myself, and they might sound really silly to people, but I literally make sure that my chair is pushed in, everything is off my desk at the end of the night, and I have everything ready in my planner, and I put my planner away because it gives me not just environmental peace, but it also gives me mental peace.
Yes.
And that's different for everybody, but that might give you some ideas of some things that you can do. Like Candace talks about doing the dishes. Sometimes sometimes our kitchen needs a little TLC, right?
I know. And let me tell y'all can outsource. When I had 4 littles, but way before I had Lacey, my 5th. But when they were little, I went through a stage where, they were all really little. And I had a friend who wanted some extra money, and she would come in and mop my floors and clean my bathrooms once a week. That right there took such a mental load off me that I could function and do everything else. But sometimes you can get to, when you're get into a bad place, it can get to a level where it almost becomes hard to clean that environment.
Exactly.
Exactly. It can happen before you know it. So if you're in a bind, it is okay to hire Merry Maids.
Exactly.
Can come in. That is perfectly fine and no guilt. Y'all know I love outsourcing, so no guilt. So anyway, so here's the next one, spiritual self-care. Having beliefs and values that are important to you and guide your life. Some examples could be meditating, reflecting in a journal, going on a retreat, walking in nature. It could be reading your Bible, reading your favorite meditations or devotional. There's lots of ways, whatever feeds your spirit. And I know for me, I like to spend a little bit of time. I light my candles and read my Bible. So everybody has their things.
Exactly.
So let's see, what's this the last one is going to be financial, I think. Yes, financial. And y'all know I love this one. It's being responsible for your finances and having a conscious relationship with money. I have not had that. This could be completing your taxes on time, spending and saving your money wisely.
Clipping coupons.
Clipping coupons. Yes, it can be finding the curriculum for free, like the Blessings Bundle is coming up, and saving it for several years down the road to use with your kids. Make sure you pay attention to what you save. You may have a lot more free curriculum that you can use if you're like me and you save it than you realize. So I'm like, there are lots of ways to use financial self-care. But the thing is that these things overlap, and if you're struggling financially, it can affect everything. And I never thought about that until financial self-care popped up at another time when we looked at it. And I was like, oh, I've never heard that one before. So I think that's a big one. And I think they all overlap. But that's the 8 that I found. If y'all can think of any extra, let me know, because, you never know. There may be another one pop up that I never thought about. But let's see. Okay, so why do we need self-care? Because the lack of self-care affects the whole person. Motherhood is a ministry, and we can't take care of our children if we're not taking care of ourselves. I'm going to move past this because, let's see. Okay, so how do we add self-care into our life? How do you add self-care into your day, Susan?
I guess what pops into my head on this one, and I'm going to go back in time for just a few minutes. I kind of want to talk to moms with younger children, where you have to have somebody who watches over them. And one thing I did, excuse me, when my kids were little, is I found another mom in a similar situation as me. Mm-hmm. And every Friday, one of us took the kids. So it was like an every other Friday kind of thing. And the kids got to play together. Sometimes we would just stay and have lunch together, or, you know, pack a snack, and as moms, we would connect. But we used those Fridays to do our grocery shopping, to maybe just have time for us, read a book. I mean, just kind of mentally pull ourselves together. So one of the things that I found a great way to put self-care into my life was finding that other mom that I connected with. And we knew that our children were getting good care, and we were just having that.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't something that happened every single week, but it was sure every other week. And it gave us a couple of hours to get some things done that we needed to get done. And it allowed us to regroup and put self-care in. Another way that, excuse me, another way I do self-care on a daily basis is I get up earlier than the rest of my family. And this might sound very simple to some folks, but sometimes it's just that individual cup of coffee by myself. And I can journal. I can read a Bible. I can watch a favorite TV show that maybe I've been saving up and wanting to do, or a favorite YouTube channel, and watching and doing some kind of craft thing. So there are ways that sometimes you have to find those ways that you could just squeeze it in. So how about you, Devin? How do you find self-care?
When my kids were little, one thing is establishing like a quiet time. You can, like, I'd have one, maybe somebody napping, then the other kids had to be quiet, and you can get inventive. You can say, hey, you're going to have quiet time in your room. Here's your quiet time basket. Here's your quiet time activity. And then mama, when I had napping babies, a lot of times I'd take a nap too, because I had the kids in a safe place. You know, my house is small, so I'm like, so that's one thing. Some moms will learn and train the babies to play in their play yard. I've seen where mom has done like 5 minutes at a time. The baby had to sit there 5 minutes, turned on a blinker or a little something where they could listen to it. Like, I have a little chicken. Gabriella, hand me that chicken. I have a chicken. I'll show you. Hand me the chicken.
Oh. I was confused for a second. I was like,
she was confused for a minute.
I thought you meant a real chicken, like
here, like just a little chicken. So you could do 5 minutes. It could be 5 minutes. She thought I was talking about real food. She got excited for a minute.
Chicken leg on my
so anyways, like, you start with 5 minutes, and it's usually like a toddler, and you say, okay, mama will be back in 5 minutes. And then when that gets easy, then you move it up to 10, then you move it up to 15, and then 20. And so eventually the baby knows that mama's going to come back, and they're in a safe place. And that's one thing you can do. Another thing, we were in the conference together this week. A mom said that she does time blocks for her school, and in the morning she would do school, and then to reward herself, because to get through it, it's because she was having a hard time, she had a dream block. And so everybody had a dream block so they could pursue activities that were important to them. So she might pursue her activities, but the kids are doing that too. So it's like she's training them to pursue things that are important to them. And I thought that was just an absolutely fabulous idea.
I did too.
I'm like, what a great name for that. So
it is, because our kids need a dream too.
Yes, and it's good for them. Give them a quiet time. My kids, sometimes I had a what's it called? What are they called? iPod. When they first came out, I'd have like stories on the iPod, or they'd have books, or now you could give them an iPad if you want to. Lacey has her own mini iPad that there's nothing there but what I let her see. Everything else is kind of hid away, so she can't go surfing and looking for stuff. So it's just kids YouTube, and which you have to watch. I do say, I always tell parents, you have to kind of pay attention to with that. But that's not her big thing. She likes PBS Kids videos and games. So
yeah, I also loved your idea of the basket. It's a basket that they only get down when it's time for some quiet time, and so it's special. That stuff, that there's special toys that they can play with, not expensive toys, but toys that they don't get to just dip into whenever they want. It's that quiet time activity. I love that idea. Or quiet time books, or go to the library every week and fill the basket up with different kinds of books, and now they have new things to look at.
We have a portable DVD player. You can go to the library and get a couple of, most educational DVDs are free. I mean, you're not having to pay for that. So there's lots of different things you could do where they're not on autopilot running around the house doing their thing. But you have to train them. You have to think of it as training. You start off with, with older kids, 10 minutes. Okay, quiet time. We're having a 10 minutes. I mean, you don't start with wanting them to do an hour. If they've never done that before, they're not going to be able to. But you start, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you give them something so they know when it's done. And then you just move it up as you teach them until, they get older. You say 2 hours, and then they might nap. They might not nap. Depending on their age. So just you have to think of a way. You have to think of it as a part of school. But what you're doing is you're training them to not only refresh themselves, but it also gives you a block of time that you can refresh yourself.
Yeah, we all need to be refreshed, right? We all need to refresh and renew. Like, I teach homeschool classes, and even my kids are talking about, what, I just need some time for me. And so this is a great way to pull it all in and give them their own time also.
Because just like we need to practice self-care and it's important, they need to learn how to do it too.
Exactly.
And how to be in tune and pay attention to what their body needs, so that they don't get to the point where they don't know what, because you'll get sick and you won't know what you need. And it's like, because you don't want them to get there that way, because that's what we do to ourselves. We get to the point where we don't even know. We're overwhelmed. We don't know what we need.
Exactly. And we talked about this at the start, that what was so interesting is the business conference that I started out with at the beginning of last week talked about self-care. It's everywhere. We're all struggling with self-care. So whether you're a homeschool mom that's also working, everyone is struggling with self-care. And so they did this workshop, and one of the ideas from the workshop was your own self-care basket. We talk about baskets for our kids to entertain them, but we also, what about a self-care basket for ourselves? Maybe as you find things, you toss things into this self-care basket, and they can just be 5-minute mental getaways or breaks in your life. And you can put them in your own little self-care basket. Loved the idea.
I thought that was fabulous. We'll have to do, maybe we need a self-care basket challenge this month, and everybody can post their picture of what they did.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I think so too. Let's see. What else have we got on here? Let's see. So we talked about establishing a new habit. Okay, one thing is remember when you're doing a new habit, it is not going to be quick, and it's probably going to take about 2 months to establish a new habit. So keep that in mind. I'm going to leave this long enough so you can read everything. Oh, that's the last one on mine. You've got some slides too, though.
Yeah. And, I want to talk about this habit thing for just a second, because I'm so glad that you bring it up. Again, this was important to me. It's probably simple and simplistic to others, but one of my self-care plans that I started in was my New Year's resolution for January of 2020 was I wanted to start taking vitamins. I wanted to start taking small steps towards better health. And it was easy. It was an easy thing to start with putting self-care into my life. And so something as simplistic as that. And the thing is, like Devin said, it does take easily 21 days, 2 months to get yourself in the habit of that. The thing that you need to remember is it's easy to fall off your new habit. And so you have to put it back in your planner to get yourself back on schedule. When you start a new self-care feature, new self-care plan, you need to make sure that you put it back in your life.
Yeah, I'll show y'all something I just added to mine, and I have not started it yet. A gratitude journal. Isn't that awesome?
It is awesome.
Just to sit down every day and write down what I'm grateful for.
Absolutely. My daughter, in one of her classes, did something similar to that, where they took it and wrote a little note, what they're grateful for, on a little piece of paper and put it in a jar, or things that they're grateful about themselves, to kind of build themselves up. Because as teenagers, there are times, and even as adults, there are times that we're really hard on ourselves.
Negative on ourselves.
Yeah. And so to me, this being grateful for the gifts that you have in your life, it's a great way to do it. And when you need to pull something to inspire you, it was great for her to just take a little inspiration thing out of her little jar and read it. So I love journaling. I love the jar idea. There's so many great ways that we can put ourselves back into our plan, but we have to make that habit. We have to make that effort.
And it's just like I say all the time, we've got to put ourselves into our budget and into our time. So schedule your new habits into your schedule so that it becomes priority. And then also make sure that you're, don't feel guilty for buying the vitamins, because spending the money on the vitamins or whatever the self-care is so much cheaper than when you really get broke and you have to run to the doctor or the mental health professional. So don't feel guilty because you want to function. We want to be able to take care of our children long term.
Absolutely. We want to be around for them. We want to be here for them.
So absolutely. Hey, Jennifer, I did see.
Yeah. Hey, Jennifer, we're glad you joined us.
Okay. Anyway, okay. So,
yeah. So if you'll pop up my slide for just a second.
Let's get rid of my slide.
Pop mine up real quick.
Yeah.
So I wanted to pull up a couple of slides, a couple of pieces of information from the self-care conference workshop that I went to last week. It was one of the workshops. So there were many workshops, miniature workshops amongst many workshops in the conference I went to. And I thought, I want to talk about the recovery equation, like having too much stress in our lives and how do we balance it all and how do we manage it all? And I really loved this equation where, yes, we're stressed out. We have a lot on our plates and we can move ourselves to recovery. And Devin has done a great job of giving you guys some different ideas and some different categories of how we can recover from so much in our lives and so much stress and putting self-care back in. So you can say, stress plus recovery or self-care equals growth. So it's going to allow us to grow as individuals and help us to learn new things about ourselves and to get things in check or in balance. And they gave a couple of books that I thought would be really good. This equation that you see right here came from this gentleman, Brad, I guess it's Stolbert. And his book is Peak Performance, Elevate Your Game, Avoid Burnout, and Thrive with the New Science of Success. I love that. I love it especially for women because just as teens, women as ourselves, we also tend to beat ourselves up. And this, I want us to experience growth and being uplifted. There was also another book that was recommended called Sacred Rest, Recover Your Life, Renew Your Energy, and Restore Your Sanity. I thought that was another good book suggestion. And I think, Devin, correct me if I'm wrong, but Amy Smith, who's in both of our groups, has written some wonderful books.
Yes, she does. Hers was on having chronic illness and resting and homeschooling. She has an awesome book. We can bump up her stuff. She's done a couple of workshops for us.
Yeah, and Amy, just speaking with Amy can be so restful because she's just a wealth of information and needed to find peace for her own life. So another thing that I thought was really interesting inside this conference that I went to was they talked about, how we get impacted by having a deficit of sleep, too much stress, not having enough self-care, things like that. So they shared with us that this is a free quiz online. It's a rest deficit quiz to see where you're not getting enough rest. So it breaks down these different areas, 8 different areas, like Devin mentioned. It worded a little bit differently because every writer has their own style in doing these kinds of things. But basically, it's basically the same different categories. And it allows you to take this rest deficit quiz to find out in what areas in your life are you neglecting rest? Is it mental rest? Is it spiritual rest that you're neglecting? Is it social rest that you're neglecting, like you have too much social media and social content. Where are your deficits at, and where can you strengthen them, or where is it too much or too little? And it kind of gives you an idea of things you can do to work on these areas where you need to put more rest into your life. So I thought that was neat because, like I said, it's also free. So you can go out there online and do
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are some different ideas for self-care.
Yeah. And I think it's important. And let us know what you're working on. If you're working on something, let us know. I mean, I think I'd like to do this one. I'd like to pull it apart like we did our homeschool student one, where we just have have maybe take a month. Maybe in January, I was thinking January would be a good month for self-care.
Yeah, it's a great time to refresh and renew. And there's so many different ways that you can do self-care. So yeah, I totally agree with you. So Devin and I are really curious. Before we even jumped online live with you guys, we talked about self-care. So share with us, what are some of the things that you do that's self-care, because other moms can benefit from hearing other people's ideas as to what they do for self-care. If you have heard somebody else doing something really neat for self-care, let us know. Drop us a note, because we all want to grow in the area of self-care. So do let us know.
Okay. Well, anybody got questions? Anybody got comments? I know people are watching because I can see you. I actually only see Susan, but I really can't. We did have somebody think we could actually see them one week, and I was like, no, really, we can't.
Well, I think that is a fear that people have when it comes to these workshops. When you post a note to us, we sometimes can see your name. We can see how many people are watching us live, but we can't actually see you through your cameras. Even if you turned your camera on, I don't think we'd be able to see you. So
it doesn't work that way. We would have to give you a special link. We'd have to give you. So really, I'm just joking when I say I can see you. I really.
We can see that there's a count.
I can see that there's someone. Yeah, I can see that someone's watching. It only tells me the number. So
exactly, and sometimes it tells us the name, and sometimes it doesn't tell us the name.
If you answer and you comment, sometimes it'll tell us the name, and sometimes it won't. Just if you give it permission. So don't be worried about it. I don't actually see you. That would be creepy. But anyway, I enjoyed spending the afternoon with y'all. Let us know what you need. We are starting to plan the summer workshops. We got a few coming. Thursday, we're with Jennifer Smith. We're going to talk about, okay, let me see if I can say it without getting confused. No, now my mind went blank. I need to pull it up.
It's about inspiring readers and writers.
Readers and writers, but okay. I don't have the right. I'll post the name. But anyway, that is Thursday at 10 in the morning. It'll be in the morning. So anyway, we'll have a great time. Jennifer's always awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
So y'all, we'll talk to y'all later.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye.